So, let's get the finale out of the way first, because the middle part is just, it's a lot. The last time I'd truly spoken to my daughter, she was 12 years old, sitting on a witness stand, looking a judge dead in the eye, and calmly explaining why she would be scared to live with me. 5 years later, she's standing on my doorstep in the pouring rain, looking less like a 17-year-old and more like a ghost. She's shivering, mascara running down her face in black rivers, holding a cheap, worn-out backpack that looks like it's seen better days. And the first words she says to me in half a decade aren't, "I'm sorry," or "I missed you." There. "Dad, can I come home? He spent my college fund." Yeah, that's the ending. But the story of how we got to that rainy Tuesday night on my front porch, well, that's the real kicker. It's a masterclass in manipulation, greed, and the kind of lies that don't just break a heart. They shatter it into a million pieces and then salt the earth so nothing can ever grow there again. Let's rewind. 5 years and a lifetime ago, I was married to Sarah, and we had Lily. And for a long time, things were good. I mean, I thought they were. I had a decent job in IT project management. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, funded our yearly trip to the beach, and kept our nice, respectable suburban house running. My whole world, my entire reason for grinding out 50-hour work weeks, was Lily. She was my little buddy. We were the duo. We built ridiculously complex Lego sets together, had a running joke about squirrels planning world domination, and every Sunday morning, we'd make my special disaster pancakes, which were basically just regular pancakes, but I'd let her make a mess with the flour. She was a happy kid. She was my kid. Sarah. Well, Sarah was different. Looking back, the red flags were more like giant, flashing billboards that I was just too damn blind to see. She was always a little bit obsessed with appearances. The right neighborhood, the right car, the right friends. Her friends were all married to guys who were doctors or investment bankers, guys who bought their wives brand new SUVs for their birthdays. I bought Sarah a really nice KitchenAid mixer one year because she said she wanted to get into baking. She smiled, but I saw the flicker of disappointment in her eyes. I should have paid more attention to that flicker. It was a sign of the fire to come. She started getting weird about money. Little comments here and there. Jessica's husband just took her to Italy for 2 weeks. Can you believe it? Or, Mark just leased a new BMW for Heather. I just laugh it off. Well, I'm not Mark, and you're not Heather. But I can make you some disaster pancakes on Sunday. For a while, that was enough. The inciting incident, the thing that kicked this whole avalanche off, was a credit card bill. I handled our main finances, but she had her own card for personal expenses. I never checked it. I trusted her. One day, a letter from a different credit card company came in the mail, addressed to her. It was a final notice. I was confused, so I opened it. My stomach dropped. She had a secret card, and the balance was over $20,000. Handbags, shoes, spa days, lunches with her friends at places I couldn't even afford for our anniversary dinner. The confrontation was ugly. I wasn't even yelling. I was just quiet. Stunned. I asked her why. Her answer? Because I deserve to have nice things, John. I'm tired of being the only one in my friend group who has to check price tags. You're so complacent. You're happy with this boring little life. Boring little life. That's what she called the home I'd built for our family. The life I worked my ass off to provide. That was the moment I knew. It wasn't a crack in the foundation. The whole house was rotten. The divorce was, shockingly, her idea. She announced it a week later, as if she was doing me a favor. She'd already seen a lawyer. This is where it gets dark. Sarah didn't just want a divorce. She wanted to win. She wanted to crush me. Her lawyer was one of those slick, soulless guys you see in movies. And their main weapon, their nuclear option, was our daughter. At first, the brainwashing was subtle. After her weekends with her mom, Lily would come home quiet and withdrawn. She'd ask weird questions. Dad, are we going to be poor now? Mom says you're mad about money all the time. I tried to explain it in a way a 12-year-old could understand. I told her we'd always have more than enough, that I loved her, and that this was between her mom and me. But I was fighting a ghost. Sarah was planting poison in her ear every single chance she got. It escalated. One day, Lily came to me, crying. Mom said you're going to try and take the house, and we'll have to live in a bad apartment. I saw red. I called Sarah immediately. She was calm, almost smug. I'm just preparing her for the reality of the situation, John. You're the one being selfish. She twisted every single thing I did into an act of aggression. I offered her a more than fair settlement, including keeping the house. Her lawyer rejected it. They wanted more. They wanted everything. They wanted full custody. My lawyer, a decent but clearly outmatched guy, warned me. Family court is a crapshoot, John. It often comes down to who the judge believes more. And a mother, especially a stay-at-home mom, has an advantage. But I was naive. I thought, no court in the world would take a daughter away from a loving father based on lies. I was so wrong. The breaking point was the day of the custody hearing. I'll never forget it. The sterile smell of the courtroom, the low hum of the air conditioning. Sarah was dressed like a grieving widow, dabbing at her dry eyes with a tissue. I just sat there in my ill-fitting suit, my heart pounding against my ribs. And then they called Lily to the stand. The judge, a woman with tired eyes, asked her some simple questions. Then, Sarah's lawyer stood up. Lily, he said in a soft, syrupy voice. Can you tell the judge what it's like when your father gets angry? I felt a cold dread wash over me. What was he talking about? I don't get angry. I get stressed, sure. Frustrated, but not angry. Lily took a deep breath. She looked so small up there. She glanced at her mother, who gave her a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. And then Lily turned to the judge. He yells, she said, her voice trembling just enough to be convincing. He yells a lot. When he's stressed about work, he throws things. The air left my lungs. My lawyer put a hand on my arm. The room started to spin. Throws things? I once tossed a stress ball against my office wall. Once. She had seen it, and we'd laughed about it. The lawyer pressed on. Did it scare you when he threw things? Lily nodded, a single tear rolling down her cheek. Sometimes. He has a scary voice. He told me once that if Mom ever left him, he'd make sure she had nothing. That we'd have nothing. That was the kill shot. A complete fabrication. A dagger twisted in my heart. And it was my own daughter holding the handle. I looked at her, pleading with my eyes. Why, Lily? Why are you doing this? For a split second, I saw a flash of something in her eyes. Guilt? Fear? But it was gone in an instant, replaced by a cold, rehearsed resolve. She wouldn't look at me again. The judge's decision was swift. Full physical custody was awarded to the mother. I was granted visitation every other weekend. The judge looked at me with a mixture of pity and contempt. I'm also ordering you to attend anger management classes, Mr. Henderson. I walked out of that courtroom a hollowed-out man. The life I knew was gone. My daughter, my little buddy, had been used as a pawn to destroy me, and she had played her part perfectly. The next 5 years were quiet. The first few visitations were excruciating. Lily was distant, always on her phone. Sarah's new boyfriend, Mark, would drop her off. He was exactly the type you'd expect. Tanned, polo shirt, reeked of cheap cologne and entitlement. He'd give me this smug little grin. He was one of the investment banker types Sarah had always wanted. They were living in my old house, with my daughter, funded by my alimony and child support checks. The irony was thick enough to choke on. After a few months, I stopped forcing it. The visits were more painful than not seeing her at all. I told her my door was always open, that I loved her, and then I let her go. I had to, for my own sanity. I sent birthday cards with cash inside. I sent Christmas presents. I never got a thank you. I heard through the grapevine that Sarah and Mark got married. They took a lavish honeymoon to Greece. They bought a boat. I, on the other hand, rebuilt. I moved into a smaller apartment. I buckled down at work, got a promotion. I started dating again and met Karen, a kind, stable woman who saw me for who I was, not what was in my bank account. We got married 2 years later. We bought a small house of our own. Life moved on. The wound in my heart where Lily used to be never fully healed. It just scarred over. It was a dull, constant ache. And that brings us back to my doorstep. On that rainy Tuesday night, I just stood there for a moment, looking at this stranger who was my daughter. The 12-year-old I remembered was gone. This was a young woman on the edge of a breakdown. He spent my college fund. I stepped aside and let her in. Karen came into the hallway, a look of concern on her face. Lily just stood there dripping on the welcome mat, refusing to make eye contact with either of us. I got her a towel and a glass of water. We sat in the living room, the same living room where Karen and I watch movies and laugh. It felt surreal. The story came out in broken sobs. It was exactly what you'd expect. Mark wasn't a savvy investor. He was a flashy salesman who was leveraged to his eyeballs. Sarah's dream life was a house of cards. They burned through my alimony payments like it was nothing. The boat, the vacations, the designer clothes for Sarah. Lily, meanwhile, was an afterthought, a burden. When she turned 17 and started asking about the college fund I'd started for her when she was born, a fund Sarah got control of in the divorce, the truth came out. There was no fund. It was gone. Mark had invested it in some high-risk stock that went bust. They'd had a massive fight. Lily called Mark a liar and a thief. He, in turn, told her she was an ungrateful little brat. Sarah, the mother who had fought so hard for custody, just stood there and said nothing. She chose him. She chose the lie. That's when Lily finally looked at me. The dam broke. She told me you were the bad guy. She wept. She coached me for weeks on what to say in court. She said if I did it, we'd have a perfect life. She promised me a horse, Dad. A horse. I was 12. I believed her. I'm so sorry. I lied. Everything was a lie. There it was. The confession I had dreamed of hearing for 5 years. But hearing it didn't bring the satisfaction I thought it would. It just felt tragic. I looked at this broken girl, and the anger I'd been holding onto for so long just evaporated. All I saw was the stupid, scared kid she'd been. A kid who'd been manipulated by the one person she was supposed to trust implicitly. But forgiveness isn't a light switch. Karen sat beside me, a silent, supportive presence. I looked at Lily, my daughter, and I told her the truth. I love you, Lily. I've never stopped loving you. But what you did, it didn't just hurt me. It broke me. You broke my heart. The person you are now, I don't know her. And this life, with Karen, it's a good life. It's a peaceful life. You can't just walk back in and expect everything to be like it was. She flinched, but she nodded. She understood. She's been here for 2 weeks now, staying in the guest room. It's not a fairy tale reunion. It's awkward. There are long silences. But we're talking, really talking, for the first time in years. We've set up therapy sessions, for her and for me and her together. It's a condition of her staying here. She got a part-time job at a local coffee shop. She's saving money. She's trying. Sarah has, of course, called. A lot. She's screamed. She's threatened. She's cried. I let her go to voicemail. Last week, I finally picked up. She demanded I send Lily back. I was very calm. I said, Sarah, she's almost 18. She can live where she wants. And just so you know, the child support and alimony payments stop at the end of this month. If you or your husband contact us again, I'll be having a conversation with my lawyer about perjury and child manipulation. I have a very willing witness now. The silence on the other end of the line was the sweetest sound I'd heard in 5 years. So yeah, that's where we are. My daughter is back in my life, but we're rebuilding from the rubble. Some days are good. We were in the garage last weekend, and I pulled out an old Lego set. We just sat there for an hour, silently building. It felt almost normal, a ghost of what we used to have. Maybe one day we'll get it back. Maybe not, but it's a start.